Have you ever stayed late, taken on the extra shift, said yes when others said no? Have you sacrificed your time, your energy, even your health for a job, a team, or the promise of someday? And yet, despite all this, have you found yourself stuck watching someone else, someone who cuts corners, talks more than they work, or simply knows the right people, rise higher and faster, living the life you thought you de-earned? If you've ever wondered, what did I do wrong? Maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the real question is, what lie have I been told? Today, we're going to unravel one of the most powerful myths of modern life, the myth of moral labor. We'll dive into philosophy, psychology, economics, and real-world stories. We'll challenge everything you've been taught about work, virtue, and success. Because maybe, just maybe, the greatest obstacle in your life isn't a lack of effort, but a belief system designed to keep you in your place. From our earliest days, we're told a story. Work hard, be honest, follow the rules, and you'll be rewarded. Effort equals outcome. Virtue is its own reward, but what if that formula is broken? Or worse, what if it was never real to begin with? We're taught to believe that virtue is its own reward, that if we just keep our heads down, life will be fair. But life isn't fair. Life is political. Life is competitive. The system rewards not virtue, but value, not the value you create, but the value you control. Why does the nurse pulling a 12-hour shift get paid less than the TikToker selling get-rich-fast courses? Why does the blue-collar worker who breaks their back retire with barely enough, while someone who manipulates markets walks away with millions? It's not your fault you believed the myth. The myth was designed for people like you, to keep you obedient, working, and from asking dangerous questions like, who benefits from my loyalty? Who profits from my exhaustion? Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who shattered illusions, warned us, moral labor, the kind of work glorified for its sacrifice, obedience, and humility, is not noble. It's a form of spiritual slavery, a psychological trap designed not to uplift you, but to keep you in place. Nietzsche didn't say, stop working. He didn't glorify laziness. What he challenged was the idea that obedient labor is inherently moral, that to suffer without reward is sacred, that virtue means submission. He called this mindset slave morality, a belief system born not from strength, but from weakness and fear. If hard work leads to success, why do the hardest working people so often struggle just to survive? Construction workers, nurses, delivery drivers, janitors, bus operators, people who keep cities alive, who make the physical world function. And yet, these are the same people who live paycheck to paycheck, who worry about rent, who can't afford to get sick. Meanwhile, someone filming get-rich-quick tips in a rented Lamborghini is making more in a day than that nurse earns in a month. This isn't a rare glitch. This is the system. While labor builds the world, labor does not control it. The people who earn the most, CEOs, hedge fund managers, politicians, thought leaders, are not the ones sweating in the heat or sacrificing their bodies. They operate in the domain of leverage, perception, and control. They don't just work, they position, they influence, they own. We've built a world where value isn't rewarded based on effort, but on power. Where controlling capital, networks, and narratives pays far more than producing anything tangible. And that world is by design. We've been conditioned to believe that suffering is noble, that endurance is honorable, that those who serve quietly are the moral backbone of society. And they are. But morality doesn't pay the bills. Praise doesn't build wealth. Sacrifice doesn't automatically translate into influence. While the working class is told to keep their heads down, those at the top are trained in strategy, law, manipulation, and capital acquisition. They're taught not to serve, but to manage, not to endure, but to dominate. So ask yourself, if moral labor is so righteous, so essential, why doesn't it come with power? Why are the most indispensable workers also the most disposable? Why does society preach the value of hard work, then funnel the rewards elsewhere? Nietzsche would say it's because the moral system itself was crafted by the powerful, not to liberate the masses, but to pacify them. From childhood, we're taught that the world is fair, that good things happen to good people, that justice will prevail. Stories, cartoons, school lessons all repeat the same comforting refrain. If you do what's right, you'll be rewarded. Be honest, be kind, be diligent, and in the end, life will make sense. But here's the problem. That belief is a beautiful idea, but it's not true. Psychologists call it the just world fallacy, the idea that the world is inherently fair, that effort equals outcome, that what you give will always come back. Clinging to it, especially in a system designed to reward power over principle, isn't just naive, it's dangerous. The system doesn't just fail to reward hard work, it uses your belief in fairness to keep you locked in place. The longer you wait for your virtue to be noticed, the easier you are to control. People who believe in justice don't rebel. They don't demand more. They keep waiting for recognition, for fairness, for someday. But someday never comes. This isn't just about money, it's about mindset. If you keep showing up with the wrong map, you'll never reach the right destination. Nietzsche didn't see morality as a universal good. He saw it as a weapon created, shaped, and deployed by those in power to serve their own ends. He drew a sharp line between two competing moral systems. Master morality is born from strength. It celebrates ambition, boldness, creativity, and the will to shape the world. It does not wait for permission. It declares its own value. Slave morality is born from weakness. It emerges from those who cannot compete on the battlefield of power. So they redefine the rules, claiming that humility is superior to strength, that obedience is nobler than dominance, that suffering is a sign of moral purity. Once this moral code spreads, it becomes sacred, untouchable. No longer seen as a strategy for survival, it's taught as absolute truth. The system doesn't just fail to reward hard work, it uses your belief in fairness to keep you locked in place. The longer you wait for your virtue to be noticed, the easier you are to control. People who believe in justice don't rebel. They don't demand more. They keep waiting for recognition, for fairness, for someday. But someday never comes. The rules you were taught were designed to produce good workers, not powerful people. The people who taught them to you understood the game. They just needed someone else to keep playing it. So if the world isn't fair, if virtue doesn't lead to victory, then what does? How do you survive without becoming ruthless? How do you move forward without losing your soul? The answer isn't to abandon morality, it's to stop worshiping it. Stop treating sacrifice like a strategy. Realize that good intentions are not a plan. In a world built on power, understanding power is part of being good. When you open your eyes to the truth, that fairness is not a guarantee, but a story we've been sold to keep us quiet, you can finally begin to write your own. You've seen these people in real life, the entrepreneur who walked away from a stable job to build something bold, the artist who turned rejection into innovation, the builder who stopped asking for permission and started taking risks. What separates these people isn't just talent or luck, it's mindset. They didn't wait for the system to validate them. They stopped asking, when will they see my worth? And started asking, why am I giving them that power in the first place? Escaping the cage of moral labor means letting go of something deeply comfortable, your attachment to being seen as good. It means being willing to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. It means being willing to stand alone for a time while you build a new foundation. But it also means freedom, the freedom to define your own values, to create impact on your terms. To live not for the approval of the system, but for the fulfillment of your own purpose. How do you begin? Audit your value. Where does your effort go? Who benefits? Learn leverage. Study not just your craft, but how power and influence work in your field. Build alliances. Network with others who see through the myth. Create your own opportunities. Don't wait for permission. Start projects. Build skills. Take calculated risks. Redefine success. Measure your life by autonomy, not approval. The new morality isn't about blind obedience or martyrdom. It's about conscious strength, strategic compassion, and purposeful living. It's about being good but not being used, about serving but not being sacrificed, about building a life that doesn't depend on the system's approval. So the next time you find yourself waiting for the world to notice your sacrifice, remember, you don't need permission to live with purpose. You don't need to be a martyr for a system that profits from your obedience. You can choose to step out of the cage to become the creator of your own destiny. Because in the end, the greatest rebellion is not to destroy the system, but to become someone who no longer needs its approval.